Joining me this morning is an ambassador in Edo culture, and she's based in Canada. And as we look at the issues surrounding promoting Edo culture, and of course using the artifacts and the need for restitution. Good morning to you, Ambassador Nekme Obasoge.
Good morning from Canada. Thanks
All
for
right,
having me.
how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
let's look at what is before us. I know you've been pretty up in terms of developments in Edo culture, and how to make sure that we promote Edo culture both in the country, Nigeria, and of course in diaspora. And you have held various positions and received various awards, as regards your efforts in making sure that you pull this through. So can you tell us the significance of the artifacts, the significance of the culture Edo as we speak?
Edo has a very rich culture. I believe that we have not been accumulating wealth from our culture. We have the rich culture, but what have we achieved over these years? Those artifacts that were looted during the British punitive expedition in Benin in 1897 were brought to Europe. Could you believe that in 2016, one piece of Benin artifact was sold for £10 million in Britain? But the culture where these artifacts were looted is still there. We have not accumulated any revenue from our artifact up to date. So we're here in diaspora promoting the culture. And over these years, we have not been campaigning for the restitution of these artifacts back to Nigeria. We have not done anything. I think it is time for us to maximize our campaign for the restitution of Benin artifacts. Why the government should also prepare the states for these artifacts, because if we don't have institutions, infrastructure that will help to facilitate these artifacts, it's like trading one insecurity for another. So as these artifacts are coming back home, do we have the infrastructure in place that will help to drive tourism in Edo State? Probably no. So it is time for us to start creating wealth from our cultural heritage.
Speak in this fashion, and you've held different conversations because you are also a media mogul, a media personality. And of course, I've seen through what you've done so far in terms of counting achievements in this aspect of deepening the significance and identity of the Edo culture, both in Nigeria and of course in diaspora. But you spoke about the artifact, and viewers are also, they want to be pertinent about what it represents. Can you give us some thoughts on what artifacts represent in terms of the Edo identity and history?
Those artifacts that were looted during the colonial era were records of events. And they were not produced for markets or for selling like what is going on today. They were created to keep our record, to preserve the history of Benin. But today, those artifacts are being sold in Europe because the European looted those artifacts. But we still have what we call Igun streets in Edo State, in Benin City. We are still producing those artifacts, but we have not accumulated any wealth from it. Look at Igun Street where those artifacts are being produced. There's no development there. A few months ago, I asked them to create a video from Igun Street and sent to me here in Canada. I was amazed with what I saw. I can't believe that where artifacts, one single artifact was sold for £10 million. The street, the place, the location where that artifact was created is still there with dust everywhere. There's no development in Edo State, in Igun Street up to now. Of which, if we prepare the state for these artifacts, we will make money that will help to develop Edo State, not just only Igun Street, but Edo State. So I think from what I've experienced so far, working with some institutions here, and a few years ago, was it not 2022, I was also invited by Smithsonian Museum during the restitution of Benin bronzes back to Nigeria. So one of the museum directors said that recent research shows that 90% of African cultural patrilineal is in outside Africa, which means they are all outside Africa in the Western countries. So what are we doing today to ensure that those artifacts are being returned back to Nigeria? Returning those artifacts back should also be accompanied with a kind of incentives, because they have been accumulating where revenue from these artifacts is there. And this, some of them that were returned recently, there's no money that we accompany with those artifacts. British Museum is housing, I think, the highest population of Benin artifacts is still in British Museum up to now, and they are generating income from those artifacts. So we that produce those artifacts, look at Edo State. There's no development. Our cultural heritage, we said we have a rich culture, but the rich culture is not well reflected in the state today. So I think we should maximize our campaign for the restitution of Benin artifacts, and those artifacts should be returned back, and infrastructure should be implemented to help to drive tourism in Edo State. That will help us to, accumulate a little bit of wealth that will help to develop Edo State. So we cannot just be sitting here, be campaigning, be saying that we have culture, our culture is rich, we have this, we have that, but it's not reflecting in the development of Edo State. So I'm very concerned about that. And I'm using this opportunity to encourage the state government to implement infrastructure that will help to drive tourism in Edo State. Edo State should be well developed, equipped. Edo State is like the cultural hub of Nigeria. When you are arriving at Edo State, there should be a kind of a structure that will say a cultural structure that will say you are welcome to Edo State. It shows that this state is a cultural hub of Nigeria. But we don't have that in Edo State up to now.
Thank you, Ambassador Nekwe Obasoge. But let's feel your pulse, because you are a Nigerian and you are a Benin and a lady, and of course we look at what you've done so far when you left Nigeria for Canada, and of course as an advocate upholding the tenets of the Edo culture. Do you have a challenge in terms of promoting the Edo culture for those in the diaspora? To make sure that this culture doesn't leave our personalities as the Benin people?
I've been promoting the culture here. We also implemented, or we initiated the Edo Language Day worldwide program, and we host it every year. I'm the global coordinator. I coordinate it here from Canada. Even though I'm in Canada, the impact of my work is well felt in Edo State. So I know people have been supporting. They have been supporting. That people are reluctant to speak the language. The aspect of the language is a critical aspect of a Benin or Edo culture that over these years we have neglected. People are losing interest in the language. When it comes to promoting the culture, for instance, exhibiting our artifacts, writing books, we have done so well. But when it comes to speaking the language, we have not done. When you go to Benin today, majority of our parents speak English to their children at home. So we are not doing enough to preserve the language, but we have done so well in other aspects of the Edo culture and heritage. So I'm using this opportunity to encourage our Edo citizens that language is the foundation of culture. Language is like the vehicle that we use to drive culture. Without the language, our culture will go into extinction. And the United Nations have warned that 50 years from now, 50% of indigenous languages in the world will go into extinction. So the way we see this Edo language right now, that we are no more speaking the language with our children at home, there's a possibility that this language will go into extinction, just like what the United Nations have predicted.
All right, thank you
So,
so much. Thank you so much. I think this is where we'll call it a big thanks, Ambassador Nekpen Obasogie, for taking our time to be part of this, and I hope you oblige us in our subsequent discussions in this regard.